greatest champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. I'm the best ever.
Welcome to the Mike Stark Show. Welcome to the Mike Stark Show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mike Starks. This is the Mike Starks Show, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, you have tuned into the greatest rant show in the divided states of America. The greatest rant show in the divided states of America, ladies and gentlemen. I have a full pack show for y'all, ladies and gentlemen. Plenty of stuff to rant about, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get to the show, I have quite a bit of things to go into before we start the show, ladies and gentlemen. First thing I want to get into, lately everybody's been talking about this whole food stamp benefits and all that stuff is being cut off or suspended temporarily because of what the president and this administration is doing. They're pretty much got the government shut down. Basically, they're going to end up cutting off Medicaid and other government subsidies like food stamps and SNAP benefits, shit like that. It's going to be cut off. And that's what they're doing. They're making sure people don't eat, but they don't get what they want because that's what the government does, fucking around with people's ability to eat. The people have gone to the internet and they've made videos saying basically they're gonna start going to stores and stealing shit. They're not gonna let their kids starve one way or another. Get to stores or somebody gonna get hit. One way or another, they're gonna get food for their kids because everybody ain't finna go without food because it's going on the holiday season and everything else, and we ain't finna play with y'all. So a lot of those videos. Most of the videos I've seen was just black people. Black people saying, "Hey, look, basically, we're gonna hit up the stores, and if you see us stealing something, no, you didn't. We'll walk right up out of there because food is expensive as shit, and basically, they're cutting off food benefits. People rely on that type of stuff like that." But I've also seen videos of like white people. They're getting on the internet, and of course, they got to say something negative. There's a bunch of white people get on the internet saying basically they are elated, happy that government benefits are getting cut off and everything else, which is so stupid because white people are the biggest beneficiary of government subsidy. Like, y'all are the biggest recipient of like food stamp share and Medicaid and all that type of stuff. Y'all are the biggest beneficiary of that shit. That shit started with y'all. It took a while for any of the rest of us to even get any of these fucking benefits because y'all get these benefits and it starts with y'all, and eventually we can get some of that. Now you're like, oh, let's cut all that shit off, not realizing this shit affects you. you're going to be cut off.
Don't
And then I
fuck
see all like
yourself
the
up.
regular stereotyping shit saying, oh, we're going to cut off all the welfare queens. We're going to get all the people who are living off of the system, get that shit cut off and everything else, when basically white women have been living off the system.
You
White
mean
women
like
have been
white
receiving
people?
all these benefits and everything else, these food stamps. White women also have multiple kids and that they need to feed and stuff. And they're getting, 1,000 something in food stamps and things like that too. Like, there never seems to be logic in the room whenever white
Never.
people are making like these little racist videos to be like, oh, we're
So
going to stick it to
stupid
black
ass.
people because, something that the president and this administration is doing is cutting off somebody's rights or benefits or whatever. It's always, let's cut that off. Let's get rid of that. Let's make sure they can't do this or do that, when they're not realizing that this shit affects y'all first. When they cut off government subsidies, any type of government benefits, y'all are the biggest majority, the biggest, like, y'all the ones that this affects the most, because there's more of
That
y'all
part.
on these benefits and shit than it is us, which is crazy. Another thing I find very irritating about this whole food stamp discussion and everything else is that it's also going to be white people and everybody else who ain't black out there stealing shit too when the shit jumps off. They're just going to blame it on black people.
Of
When this
course.
incidents happened, when you first started seeing a couple black people going there, getting carts of food, stealing shit, running out the stores, getting fights with security guards, police, and all that type of shit. If that shit does happen like that or whatever else, they're just going to blame it on black people. It's going to be whites and everybody else doing it, because everybody else is also on these benefits too. It isn't just black women on these benefits. You're going to see other people do it too. It's just like that's when it comes to stores. You know what I'm saying? Like, white folks go up in stores and steal shit too. They
All
just
the
don't fit the
time.
description. They get the benefit of the doubt. Other people run up in the stores and steal shit too. They're going to blame this shit on black people. I just think it's fucking crazy with this whole situation. I don't really think it's going to get to that point. I really think that,
I think it
your
will.
president and this administration, they cause problems just so they can swoop in and fix their own problem that they created and be like, oh, see, I brought back the SNAP benefits and everything else. He's going to make himself out to be the hero of this whole thing anyways. Next thing I want to talk about before we begin the show, ladies and gentlemen, is the Epstein files. And I brought that up in a previous podcast, whatever else. We cannot stop talking about that. We bring it up as often as possible. We are being incredibly distracted and being brought over to other things to talk about. And it seems like ever since this man even ran for president, it has been one distraction after another. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to these Epstein files, we've got to keep talking about the type of shit and make sure we bring that shit up in everything that we do, because that shit needs to get out there, whatever else. We're not going to gloss over. We're not going to move on. And that seems to be a thing that we do, is that we just kind of keep moving on to the next thing or whatever else. Like, I don't know if any of y'all remember that fake ass assassination attempt that happened to the president, where he pretended he got his ear shot off, and we had a bunch of red hats sitting in the audience at RNCs and everything like that. Those conventions that the Republicans were having, they taped their ear, pretend they got shot in their ear, because their goofy ass orangutan president, he pretended he got shot in the ear. And then, of course, monkey see, monkey do. The red hats in the audience, they decided they're going to go ahead and put tape on there and pretend they got shot in the ear too. And we just never went and investigated any of that shit. We all just kind of moved the fuck on. Like, even right now, I'm pretty sure after this podcast or whatever else, nobody's really going to go look into that shit and be like, hey, what did happen with that? What was the whole... Did we actually get any results from that or whatever else? Because, like, clearly his ear was never shot. We never went back and asked, like, okay, how come we never got a medical report? Nothing. There's so much unanswered shit that happened about that we just kind of glossed over it and kept moving. Got to stop doing that. Whenever some shit is going on or whatever else, like, we can't just keep moving on. That's what I say when it comes to something like these Epstein files, we've got to keep talking about this shit. It's got to come out. Got to get resolved. You know what I'm saying? We can't keep getting distracted by every other issue or whatever else, because then it'll be stuff like this, like that fake ass assassination attempt. People will just do drastic shit, and next thing you know, we're on to something else, and we're like, no, wait a minute. What happened with that? Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, we live in the divided states of America, ladies and gentlemen. I brought this up in a previous podcast, and I do think that we need to separate and become two separate Americas, ladies and gentlemen. We need to divide this country up into regions or two separate Americas with separate governments, because clearly we can't all be living underneath the same government. We need to go the way of other countries that have done that before. Maybe it needs to be like two different Koreas. We know there's a North and a South Korea. Maybe we need a North and South America with two separate governments in case the red states want to live any sort of way or whatever. Go over there. Y'all live over the way you want to fucking live. You know what I'm saying? The rest of us, we don't want that type of governance or whatever else. So we want do that.
Brand new everything.
We might end up like Czechoslovakia. They separated. It's two separate countries now. It's Slovakia and the Czech Republic. Maybe we need that. Maybe we need two separate Americas. We're at that point now, because it's just like, we got to separate. And I just think it's fun. I think it's weird because we talked about separating at the wrong time. Like, right now would be the right time to be doing shit. I remember that back in when Obama had his 2 terms, when President Barack Obama had his 2 terms, there were like 9 states that wanted to, separate from the union. And during both of his terms, what I'm saying, it was like Texas, Louisiana, and like 7 other states or whatever else were consistently pleading with the government to separate from the government because they don't want to be part of the United States because a black man was in office. None of the shit that's going on right now, people losing their rights and everything else, and all this shit going on with ICE and the government, all that. None of this shit was going on during Barack Obama's 2 terms or whatever else. But several southern states wanted to go ahead and separate because they didn't want to have anything to do with this. And I just feel like, fine, right now with everything that's going on with this country that's affecting everybody, now would be the time for government to, now would be the time for states to be like, hey, we want to separate from all of this. We don't want to be part of the United States.
Like right now.
Doing this type of stupid ass shit. If you guys are moving towards tyranny and towards the type of government where you guys are going to be having a fascist dictatorship and shit like that, where there are not going to be any checks and balances and nobody's going to be held accountable and you guys are running amok or whatever, we'll separate. You guys want to do your North Korea dictatorship type of thing, we'll separate the country. Half the country would be you guys on your red hat bullshit with that president and that government or whatever else. We'll separate and over here have our own president, our own government, and we'll see how in 4 years how things will be different. So I definitely think that's what we got to go ahead and separate the fucking country. Next thing I want to talk about before we begin the show, ladies and gentlemen, is male Trump supporters. Now, of course, we all hate Trump supporters. We hate the fact that y'all motherfuckers went and put this man to office and everything else. We know the majority of male Trump supporters are white. We know that white people went here and put this man into office and everything else. I just want to talk about that for a second because something has really drastically changed when it came to men. As we know, when it comes to men for the most part are more logical than we are emotional. Like we're human, we have emotions, we can express emotions and shit, but men tend to be more logical than we are emotional. But when it comes to the previous election that we just had, we clearly had an emotional choice to vote for and a logical choice to vote. And we seen there was a lot of emotional ass men out there, which I think is crazy because we kind of knew with the decisions that we had between the 2 candidates and everything else, one should have been a no-brainer. One of them, whether you like her or not, she is qualified for the job.
Exactly.
The other one, obviously, shouldn't have been able to even run for president.
Monkey
and of course, you had a lot of men out there who the logical choice would have been to vote for Kamala Harris. That should have been the logical choice. Get her in office. Y'all work with her from there. The emotional choice was to deal with Donald Trump. He's the guy who gets you riled up. He's the guy who makes you feel like, oh, you guys can do anything. He gets in there and he lies to you and tells you, hey, I'm going to change this day one. As soon as I get in there, I'm going to go ahead and gas prices are going to go down. The price of eggs are going to. He just riles you up, makes you feel a certain way. And there was a whole bunch of emotional ass men who felt for that type of shit. Like I get that there were women who were Trump supporters who I guess got riled up or felt some sort of way or whatever. But during the whole election process, the whole 90 days or 100 something days of the election process, there's a lot of emotional men out there that are just really worshiping this orange man. Like they were deifying this man. They were looking at this man almost as if he was like a father figure to them. And it was just like you men were out here acting like you were damn near in love with this fucking man. And to this day, even with everything that's still going on with Donald Trump and this whole administration and everything else, you still have men who, you're looking at this man in a very weird ass way. You're acting very weird about this man. You act very emotional about this man. So it's just like it's becoming very obvious that male Trump supporters, y'all are a different type of man than what a natural man is. Y'all have made the emotional, very feminine decision to go ahead and vote for this man. That's what y'all have done. Because there's no logic in that at all. You know what I'm saying? Like a natural man would think more logically. It would make more sense to make the logical decision to vote for the person who's actually going to benefit or help us move forward in this country. Y'all made an emotional decision. That's crazy to me. That's very weird. So I can never really look at like Trump supporters any different from now on. Because I look at y'all and I just like, that was very emotional, very soft and feminine for y'all to get all riled up about this man. The way y'all was basically calling this man your daddy and basically looking at this man as your savior and all this type of shit like that. It's just very weird. So I don't know. I didn't like that. I just feel like, okay, right wing male Trump supporters, these conservatives, y'all just very emotional. Y'all very obsessed with this man. You view him as being like infallible. He can do no wrong. And that's just very homo to me. That's just very weird to me. And I just feel like you guys are really obsessed with this man in a very romantic way. I think that's very weird to me because there's nothing logical about voting for that man or supporting that man or any of that. Nothing. And like I said, I could see women doing that because, Donald Trump, he I guess he gets people riled up. He affects your emotions and stuff like that. But for a man who is a natural man who's dealing with logic and everything like that, like there's nothing logical about voting for that man, supporting that man, anything like that. It just doesn't make no sense at all. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, since we are talking about the amazing Blasian, Kamala Harris, she is on her book tour. She is out here talking about her memoir, The 107 Days. Her haters are out there giving her more attention than her previous supporters.
Out here writing memoirs.
Because of that. Because when Donald Trump was not president, he still had continuous supporters. They still had people who act like he should have been or he was currently the president. They believe that, okay, well, there was some sort of conspiracy to make sure he can't be president of the United States again. And I mentioned this before in a previous podcast where I talked about this, that once it was determined that Donald Trump became the next president of the United States for 2024 and everything like that, the support for Kamala Harris just dropped off the face of the earth. People stopped talking about her.
Almost immediately.
Really, it just like in a matter of 4 weeks, people just like stopped fucking with her. And it was crazy for the 107 days that, you know, her book is talking about her running for president and everything else. Like it was a time when you couldn't say nothing about her. Nothing. Even if it was something like a personal attack, which had nothing to do with like her policies or anything like that. You couldn't say nothing about her. You was all types of weak ass, bitch ass niggas, everything. You couldn't say shit about Kamala Harris. She had so much support and everything else. And then people just stopped supporting her. And I remarked in a previous podcast, I was like, we have so much fake support for her because we have real support for her, even though she's not president right now and she doesn't have any authority. She's not president or vice president or any of that type. She's not in office right now for that type of shit. We should still be supporting her and gassing her up to be like, hey, in like 3 years, we need you to run for president again. We already got your back. Because that's what happened with the Trump supporters. They were still supporting him and telling him you're going to be the next president of the United States. And they just kept supporting him and they had his back no matter what and everything. He had this large following. And if a dumbass doofus like that can have all that support and following and everything else for his cause, and he ends up being back in office, and, you know what I'm saying, becoming president again or whatever, why the fuck aren't we doing that shit with Kamala Harris? Because it just seems like her haters are giving her more attention than her previous supporter. I mean, to this day, right now, she's on her book tour and motherfuckers are hating on her for stuff that Donald Trump is doing. She's not even in office. She has nothing to do with what this president is doing. But people are hating on her for stuff that she has no control over. And I just feel like we, as people who voted for her and people who are supported her and everything else, should continue to support her and keep her out there as the next candidate for president of the United States. Like, I don't get why all the support just dropped off the earth. This is the reason why I said people were such fake ass supporters for her. Like, y'all don't really fuck with her like that.
No, y'all don't.
You don't. You just don't fuck with Donald J. Trump like. So whoever they put up against him, you were just going to have some sort of fake ass support to make sure he don't get in office. And I remarked about that you really don't fuck with her like that because you should still be supporting her right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this show. I got plenty of stuff to talk to you about, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it.
I think that we need to send a message to employers that they need to stop firing autistic employees because they're not social enough.
Multiple times I was called difficult because when someone would send me a message in our work chat and say, hey, so-and-so, how you doing? I'd say, what do you need? I was labeled difficult because I wouldn't engage in small talk and preferred to simply engage in a good faith exchange of assisting this person with what they needed in the moment. I don't need to do 5 lines of back and forth about, oh, I'm good, you good, you good, you good, you. Hey, I just had a quick question. Oh, what can I do for you? I don't need all that. Just send me a message that says, hey, man, do you have access to such and such report? Hey, man, I was wondering if you can help me with XYZ. Like, you can just say that. Like, that's not rude. We're at work. I understand if you're engaging with me at work, the primary reason that you might be engaging with me is for work-related things. And the way that I, by like 90% of people, was seen as rude for doing this, and I was never mean about it, but like even multiple times I would just tell people like, hey man, if you need to ask me a question, just ask me the question. You don't have to engage in small talk first. That was seen as rude. And I had these conversations verbally so that I was able to intonate, enunciate in a way that showed that like I meant this in good faith. Like, hey man, just so you know, if you have to send me a message about something, you don't have to engage in the whole like, hey man, how you doing? You can just ask me the question so that I can go ahead and get you the thing that you need faster. Like that's better for you. It's better for me. Like, the small talk thing, like it's we don't have to do that. Oh, he's rude. Like, he's weird. And like, every time I interact with him, he's always just so, he's always so mean and good God. The way that doing the most reasonable thing for us is seen as being mean and not like engaging in the system in good faith. Like this is like, it's enough to make me fucking crazy. And I'm not hey man, just tell me what you need so I can help you faster. Because it's better for you and it's better for me, so I don't have to engage in all this extra back and forth. Like, paying attention to a work chat while I'm doing 15 other things is not something I want to do. It's not something you want to do. Why does it have to be so fucking hard?
Ladies and gentlemen, I completely understand. I will say this, communication between neurotypical people and neurodivergent people is incredibly difficult. Whether you want to call it autistic or whatever you want to be, neurotypical people and neurodivergent people, communication between us two can be incredibly difficult because sometimes you could just tell somebody, hey, you can be direct with me. You could just say, I need this, and I can go ahead and do that for you, and then that's that. But just telling a person that, they take shit the entire wrong way. And that shit is irritating. I understand the frustration, especially at work. People will act like you are rude because they don't want to engage. You don't want to engage in like the back and forth chit chat thing. Sometimes people just want you to go ahead and be as direct as possible. Some people enjoy that. They enjoy you just being direct about something. Right. Because I'm sometimes direct about stuff too. The whole cheesy, like, I'm going to go ahead and engage in these like weird pleasantries when, you know what I'm saying, we're in a work environment. It would just make much more sense for you to be like, hey, what do you need? And you tell me what you need. I can go ahead and get that done. And then when, you know what I'm saying, we're not working, then we can engage in that. But also, I've noticed that when you are on a production floor at whatever your job is or whatever else, for people who are like neurodivergent or whatever else, and you are this type of person that I played in this clip where people come up to you and they want to like have this little quick back and forth with you or whatever else just to try to like be polite, and you've expressed to them you don't really need to do that. If you need me to do something or you need me to go get something for you, I could just go do that. You could just say what you need. I can go get it. And then some other time we can go ahead and engage in that. These people, when it's time for that type of stuff, to like have the little back and forth chit chat pleasantry, don't do that shit, which is irritating. Break rooms, hallways, parking lot. That's where you could do all this. Hey, how are you doing? We can do this whole shit back and forth or whatever else. But when we're in the middle of production, when we're in the middle of servicing customers, whatever it may be at your job, when we're in the middle on the production floor or whatever, you don't need to do all of that type of shit. And people think you're rude because we're just like, what do you want? What do you need? What can I do for you? And you're very direct about stuff, or you are very direct with other people, and you just tell people what you want or what you need without all the pleasantries and shit like that. Like, that shit is bad annoying. That shit gets on my fucking nerves. I'm pretty sure it gets on the nerves of other people who are autistic, things like that. When sometimes you don't need all that, you know what I'm saying? And then you struggle to do those things because people would, you know, perceive you as being rude or mean or antisocial, whatever it may be, when you just want to be very direct and let people know, I don't need all of that. You know what I'm saying? If you come to my station or you call my desk or whatever else, and you're like, hey, can you get this for me? Can you bring that over here? Can you do this? Can you do whatever? I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? And then later, when I'm not doing something or whatever, hallways, break rooms, parking lot, whatever, if y'all want to engage in this whole back and forth talking, whatever else, cool. But I don't think it's rude if a person just tells me what they need. Also, I don't think you should take it rude either if I just tell you what I need. Hey, can you go grab this? Hey, can you get this done? Whatever. That's fine. I don't always need all of that. And I just think that, you know, people struggle with that at workplaces. You know what I'm saying? Like, whenever I've had to interact with somebody and I just tell them directly what I need and they don't take it the wrong way, and I'm just like, hey, can you process this or do this, whatever else, and they just do it without thinking I'm being rude or being whatever, cool. You know what I'm saying? I like that. But other people don't take it that way. They don't. They take it completely the wrong fucking way.
I think y'all realize that when they say that 60% of America is illiterate, they don't mean that you couldn't open up your favorite childhood book and read it front to back. That's not what they mean. Functionally illiterate means that you can look at this word and not know how to sound it out. This is important because some people can be illiterate and not know that they are illiterate. They just think that being illiterate means that they literally cannot read anything, but that's not what it means. If you do not know the difference between there, and there, two, and two, your and your, you are illiterate. If you are using plural women instead of woman, you are illiterate. If you are one of those people who finds yourself chronically missing the point every single time, you might be illiterate. Another part of literacy that people don't talk about is comprehension. You need to be able to look at a body of text and decipher what it was about. When your English teacher would ask you about symbolisms in the text, she wasn't doing that for no reason. And I feel like this whole "it's not that deep" English teacher trend where they're deciphering music lyrics, they made fun of that, but y'all don't know how badly it affected you because you need that.
Exactly. Ladies and gentlemen, in the previous podcast, I remarked talked about how basically like literary texts like the Bibles and people's other religious scriptures and stuff like that is like well above a 6th grade reading level. Most people are functionally illiterate. Like they can read the most basic stuff. Doesn't mean they can't read at all. A lot of people are just functionally illiterate.
Just can't read shit.
And that's a big issue in this country. You know what I'm saying? As I'm going to go ahead and relate this back to how during the election process and everything else, people did not read or research or look up anything.
Because you can't read.
Like relying on other people to tell them stuff, because that's how religion works. You know what I'm saying? Somebody else takes your books or whatever else and just tells you what it means because you are functionally illiterate. You don't actually read the scriptures, the text, don't do any research, you don't study it or whatever else.
None of that shit.
For you. But that also works with like the law. That also works with all sorts of other things. A lot of people, you know, certain things are just above their reading level, and instead of learning and educating themselves to actually be able to increase their reading level over time, people just don't do that. Like illiteracy in this country is a very serious thing. Very serious thing that people struggle with that. And I think that really starts with like people's religious text, something really does. And that affects people's ability to go ahead and do any actual research or look anything up. I'm not saying people have to go ahead and climb through the internet for hours and hours. I understand that technology has made it easier for people to just ask Alexa or whoever else, you know what I'm saying? Or basically
that's a lot easier now.
Your, whatever your Siri thing is, you know what I'm saying? And have something look up for you, your AI or chat GPT or whatever it may be. Cool. But people still, you know what I'm saying, have a serious problem with understanding things. I think that's the biggest part of illiteracy.
They don't read no book.
As was mentioned in this clip, is that people don't have the comprehension to understand what they're reading. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think a lot of people missed that shit when we were in school learning English and everything else, that they were talking about like similes and metaphors and all this type of stuff that has to do with parts of speech and things like that.
They don't know what that
people
shit
don't
mean.
get the comprehension of what they're reading. People are at the point where you're not just functionally illiterate to where you don't know the difference between two and your and yours. People are also not grasping what was the whole message behind what you just read. You know what I'm saying? And illiteracy is a huge problem. And here we are getting rid of the Department of Education, or putting the wrong people in charge of that.
Y'all gonna be extra
when
dumb.
we need education more than ever.
If I told you that a whale swallowed me and kept me in their stomach for 3 days and 3 nights, would you believe me? What? If I told you my friend took his staff and put it in the ocean and split the water, would you believe me? If I told you that I have a friend who fed 5,000 people with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread, would you believe me? No, you wouldn't. You would question me, right? Exactly. So the fact that y'all can sit here and would question me about a story that I'm telling y'all, but y'all scared to question this Bible, is beyond me. The reason why the conversation with Christianity and spirituality is such a thing is because it causes you to have a common sense conversation. And when you have a common sense conversation, that is going to bring in critical thinking, which is going to bring in questions. And we all know when it comes down to questions, Christians don't like you asking that because you don't supposed to question God.
Yes.
Why not?
Exactly.
My great-great-great-grandmother been waiting for Jesus to return, and here I am in my 30s, and that story is still going on. Why wouldn't I question that? Why? If I know that a whale has acid in their stomach, how in the world am I supposed to believe that somebody sat in the bottom of a whale's stomach for 3 days and 3 nights? If I know the ocean has a dip in it, how am I going to expect to not question how nobody fell or how he was even able to walk that far to split it? How? The purpose of the Bible is that it's a book. It's just a book with characters, because if the characters were real, they would be more so focused on digging up Moses versus going to Egypt to dig out the tombs for these Egyptians. Mighty funny how we can pull up these mummies, but we can't pull up nothing when it comes down to David, Joseph, and all the rest of the characters, because they were that characters. Y'all hate common sense questions. Some of y'all be having degrees, and y'all really act like y'all don't get that this is a made-up story that's just telling you a story about a character and the life lessons that they had to learn. Y'all really take that and believe that Mary and all of these people are real. Y'all really think these people are real. Y'all really think that Moses' staff turned into a snake. Y'all really think, set your bush on fire right now and go talk to it. What? Y'all have to start using common sense. That's why y'all get so bent out of shape about it. And then y'all start loving, oh, they're not a believer. They're a Satan worshiper. Why? Because I'm using common sense. Y'all swear that people who are spirituality is trying to make a cult for people to come out of the church when it's the church that is the cult. Y'all are the cult. If the Bible was so true and stand on its word as people say it is, you wouldn't have this whole battle of I'm the only God you can serve and serving any other God, I'm a jealous God. You would not have all of that because the God would just be one. If that's the case, what is Buddhism? What is Hinduism? What is all of these things? All of these gods? Are you serious? Do y'all not think about people who live in these islands that don't have no type of connection with the real world, quote unquote? Who do you think they serve? For the people who serve more so, who worship like buildings, who worship like trees, they worship water. Where do you think they're going? Y'all so busy arguing about Jesus is real, but y'all not arguing about the fact that the way they describe him is a black person. But when we bring that up, they argue with us down that they white. Y'all are off.
Ladies and gentlemen, common sense is not common. Critical thinking is not in the room when it comes to religion. It's just crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Exactly.
I have definitely said in previous podcasts that we definitely need to have a real serious discussion about religion, not just specifically Christianity, but I know that seems to be like the majority in my community, black community. A lot of us are Christians and things like that. But yeah, also just religion in general. Like people do not actually use their critical thinking skills to actually analyze any of that because there's some very sci-fi fantasy shit going on in people's religious literature, and people don't use any type of critical thinking at all. And also people don't question things. Questioning things is the most basic thing in the world. We've all been around children. We have kids, grandkids, nieces, nephews, and shit like that. They question things. You do anything, they go, why is that there?
Exactly.
Why does that look like that? What is that? We stop doing that once we get older. And I think that when you grew up in a religious community or a religious household or whatever else, you stop doing that. Because people just tell you that's just the way it is. That's how something is. And they just teach your kids to not question things at all. Because I think that if you kept that like childhood wonder of like questioning things and stuff like that into adulthood and everything else, you develop a critical thinking mind. And you start looking at stuff and saying that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
None of that shit makes
sense. It's not that you don't want to believe in it, but your mind starts to apply science, which is like a natural, normal thing for your mind to naturally want to apply science to it. Go, how does that even work? Like the example she gave about like Jonah and the whale and things like that, or splitting the ocean. How would that even work scientifically? Other than just something made up in your mind that you say, oh, well, a person can walk on water. Where is Mythbusters? Like, how would that even work?
Yeah,
how could you even make that work? And it's crazy that you can't even go to religious people of any religion and be like, hey, can you explain critically in scientific terms how that would even work? How would walking on water, flying, creating, you know what I'm saying? How would you feed the masses with 2 fish and fucking 5 loaves of bread? How would that even work? You know, they just say, oh, that's just how God works, whatever. Like, that just makes no fucking sense. I really don't get it. And she also brought up real quick in this clip that I just said that some people go to school. I don't understand how y'all go to school, get secondary education. Some of y'all got degrees. Some of y'all have technical jobs, but yet somehow y'all are not technical or critical about the religion you believe in. You just accepted that.
Yeah,
but y'all are like in information systems management. Y'all have got degrees and shit like that. Y'all are more critical about that type of shit, but you don't be critical about the fucking religion you grew up on. Y'all don't want to know, like, if this shit was real. Like, I mean, you could ask all sorts of questions. Like, one of the questions you could ask for a person who is Christian, is religious and everything else, if Jesus, Mary, and Joseph were real, actual flesh and blood human beings or whatever else, who on earth right now is related to them? Because you got to think about it. Mary and Joseph, if they were real people, are related to other people. Did their bloodline just end and they don't have aunts, uncles, and everything else, cousins, the rest of their family, whatever? Who on earth is related to them? Where would you be able to find the bones of these people who died? We could find, you know what I'm saying, the remains of Genghis Khan and you know, pharaohs who passed away 3,000 years ago and shit like that. Dinosaur bones, but you can't find the bones of this religion that y'all claim is so fucking real. Y'all can't find none of the remains of those people who are here. Like, there's never any definitive proof when it comes to religion. Not just Christianity, just religion, period. There's never any definitive proof. It's always wrapped in mystery and illogic and all that type of stuff like that. All of that shit. It's never no definitive proof. That's what's crazy. And people don't ever use their like critical thinking skills to think, okay, well, there has to be some definitive proof that would shut down everything. Because if there was definitive proof, there wouldn't be a multitude of religions worldwide. Somebody would come forth with definitive proof that would shut down everything. They would say, here, this is the definitive proof, this is real, shut down everything. It's never any of that. The God of your religion never steps forward and says, hey, look, I'm here, this is it, and shuts down all the other religious beliefs and all that kind of stuff. But there's also nothing ever remains or any type of scientific evidence that would show and prove, here it is. Nothing. Not for none of y'all religion. Not for none of y'all religious texts or any other type of stuff. Also, when it comes to religions or whatever else, all the weird, crazy, sci-fi, fantastical stuff that goes on in these books or whatever are not going on anytime during your lifetime. You've never in your lifetime just seen a person walk out onto the ocean like he's walking on a flat ground. You've never seen nobody split up in no ocean. You've never seen none of the shit that you see in your fucking Bible. You've never heard no story of nobody surviving in the bowels of a fucking whale. None of that shit. In your lifetime. None of the shit that you're believing that happened in the fucking Bible happened in your lifetime in real life. Because it can't happen. It's a story. It's allegory. I just wish people would have critical thinking. I'm not saying this is not against anybody having any belief in God. You can believe in God, believe in whatever you want to believe in. It's the system of religion. It's your religious text that people don't bother to read and understand that this cannot possibly happen, and it doesn't make that kind of sense.
When people act like they don't understand pro wrestling as a concept because wrestling isn't real and they're not actually wrestling and it's scripted, so you know how the matches are gonna end, whatever. Because it's like when you're watching TV shows and the good guys win and the bad guys lose because the writers write it that way, you still watch the TV show because it's entertaining, right? Even though there is a set ending, right? So I don't understand why people find it so hard to grasp, because I remember I was having a conversation with my mom and I was complaining about how some of the storylines just feel like they don't make any sense, and how I feel like certain wrestlers wouldn't do certain things and how certain results of certain matches shouldn't have gone the way that they went. And she was like, well, like, it's scripted, so it's going the way that they wrote it. Well, yeah, that's why I'm upset. And she was like, I don't understand why you get this upset about pro wrestling when it's not even real. What? I'm like, the same reason why you cried when Psych ended, because the show's not even real either, but you were entertained, right? You were entertained. So now they're taking away that entertainment. Now shit sucks a little bit. Now you're upset, right? It's the same thing. It's the exact same concept, especially because, like, when you think about it, the wrestlers are still played by people. Like, think about it like this, right? Roman Reigns' name is not Roman Reigns, right? Joe is acting. He's playing a part. Now, do they have to extend that a little bit more into real life, right? Yes. So it's not as easy to separate the character from the person because they're very intertwined. And I can understand that to an extent. But at its very core, pro wrestling is just weekly TV. It's just weekly entertainment, actors doing things, and they're doing it in a physically athletic way. It's just TV. It is. And so I don't understand why we all act like, oh my gosh, wrestling fans are so weird because they like stuff that's fake and it's scripted. It's entertaining, though. It's entertaining. It's the same reason why people would go and buy tickets to be in a live studio audience for a taping of a TV show, because it's entertaining and you want to be in the room where it happens. Like, I don't get where the disconnect comes from.
Pro wrestling as a concept, ladies and gentlemen. I've said in the previous podcasts that I've done before, ladies and gentlemen, that I'm pretty much not accepting any type of like anti-wrestling slander. You're not going to talk shit about wrestling, and you're not going to pretend like you don't understand it, you don't get it, you don't grasp it, or whatever else that it doesn't fit into your head or whatever, because people are always saying, oh, fake, they're not really actually hitting each other that hard, they're pulling their punches, all this type of shit that you can analyze about a scripted wrestling TV show that you don't seem to understand about all the other TV shows that you watch are also scripted, have actors, characters, storylines, and shit like that. The reason why I'm bringing this up, and I know I've already talked about wrestling and everything else and how people do understand how, how entertaining wrestling can be, because it's the same as any of the other shows that you watch and everything else. It's no different from the movies you watch. You watch Marvel movie shows and everything like that, and you watch Marvel movies and stuff. You know them characters not real and the battles didn't actually happen. What I want to relate that to is my previous comments that I was just making about like religion and Christianity and things like that. I don't understand how people can go on to secondary education and be analytical about stuff that they learn, like information systems technology and shit like that, but not be that critical about when it comes to religion. Also, I don't understand how people can go ahead and be like, you can look at wrestling and see that it is characters, it's scripted, it's a story, it's not real, all of that things shit like that. But yet, y'all can have your Bible, look through it, see that it's scripted, it's stories, it's characters. characters, and somehow you believe that.
The same
These are the
shit.
same people. I guarantee you, these are the same people that if you go up to somebody and be like, okay, they don't seem to understand what's the big deal about wrestling. They don't get, oh, it's fake. I don't get it. Blah, blah, blah. Why is this guy wearing a mask and he's got purple outfit on? Blah, blah, blah. But then, like, you point at their Bibles, you point at their Quran, you point at their religious books and be like, do you know all this weird shit is going on here too? This is scripted. There are characters and this is a storyline and everything else. Like, they believe that shit, though. And there's such a disconnect, though, because I just really feel like the way y'all are looking at wrestling is the way like people who have a scientific and analytical mind are looking at y'all religious textbooks and being like, that's pro wrestling for morons. Like, it's crazy to me. It really is how y'all could be like, it's scripted and it's fake and everything else. But the same thing when I point at something that y'all are into that y'all 100% believe, that's scripted and fake and everything else. There's characters in it. But y'all believe that though, but you can't get into wrestling though. That's wild crazy. That is wild crazy to me, for real. That's one of the reasons why I absolutely do not accept like anti-wrestling slander. Y'all not gonna talk bad about wrestling. You're not gonna be like wrestling shit and all that type of shit. These are the same people. You know what I'm saying? You don't apply whatever you're saying about wrestling, that same logic to your own TV shows, your own movies. But more importantly, these are the same people who can't seem to understand that that's the same shit that's going on with your religious books. Just wild, crazy characters, scripted, fake, like. And they've made whole movies about the fake ass stuff that happens in y'all scriptures too. Even when you see it played out on the silver screen, even when y'all see it played out in religious TV series and things like that, y'all still don't understand how that's exactly like the rest. It's scripted. There's characters. There's shows. This didn't actually happen. This didn't actually go on at all. I don't understand the disconnect. I don't.
This lady made a video talking about how the SNAP benefits won't be effective come November 1st. So a lot of people are going to go hungry. Like, a lot of Americans will be hungry. 40% of that being like children, right? This lady gonna respond, God will provide. Maybe SNAP was God's way of providing, first of all. Second of all, God allowed slavery. I'm so tired of y'all being delusional in religion. I don't give a fuck about what you believe, right? You can believe what you want to believe. However, when it comes to systemic problems, when it comes to systemic issues, where people, a handful of people, are controlling the livelihoods of millions of people, I want us to start being so fucking for real. Like, this delusion that y'all live in, we have to get rid of. Like, if we want to move forward as a society, not just as a nation, but as a global society, we have to get fucking better. God will provide. Tell that to the homeless people and the children currently going hungry.
Yes, exactly.
Ladies and gentlemen, religion is such a cop-out. Such a cop-out. Just the way people who are like, I'm not going to do anything about this issue. I'm just going to sit here and wait, sit on my hands, and do absolutely fucking nothing. People have asked the direct question of, like, where was God during slavery? There are people who were born into slavery and died in slavery, and they prayed and cried out to God and everything else for some sort of relief from all their suffering of the life that they were living, and absolutely nothing fucking happened. Nothing. They just suffered their entire fucking life. They went through bullshit their entire fucking life, and slavery went on way too fucking long. And people ask, well, where was your God? Or even on a more personal level, there are children who have cancer and they don't make it. Where's your God? There are some kids who do make it, and people thank God and be like, well, what about the ones that didn't make it? There are wars going on with tons of collateral damage. People who have absolutely nothing to do with anything, getting their limbs blown off, all sorts of crazy shit going on. And people want to know, where is your God on it? Where's the God of religion? Like, whenever there are real systemic issues out here, like, we need to ask that question, like, where? What is going on? Because people love to talk about the glory of God and all this type of stuff like that. And it's just like, y'all got to be fucking for real. Like, she bring up homelessness and stuff like that. There are people out there who had their house demolished in a natural disaster, and they're homeless now. Their whole family is homeless. There are people out here starving. A whole bunch of shit is going on in the world where we're asking, okay, well, where is the God of religion? So there's systemic issues that are going on in the world, United States, all over the world. And at no point does anything swoop out of the sky and solve any of our. At no point do we hear of a voice booming from the clouds, explaining himself, saying, hey, this is the purpose of why I made this happen in the world. Nothing like that. And so that's just my issue with it. It's just like, whenever stuff happens, we just want to know, why is there such a cop-out when it comes to just being like, this will happen, that'll happen, God will provide. Like, nothing has been fixed at all.
And it never
all these issues that's going on in the world. Not once. If it had to happen once, that's the thing that really gets me though. If it had to happen once, if there was ever a guest appearance from y'all, deity from whatever religion y'all believe, just showed up and solved any problem in the world, like, we could accept that. Not once has that happened. not from Hinduism, Judaism, Buddhism, Mohammedanism. Not one religion has anything swooped up out of the sky solved any problems in the fucking world. Not once. And that's all we need. Some sort of definitive proof, something for real to fucking happen, because otherwise it's a delusion. It's a cop-out.
Why is it that when a predator of children gets caught, they don't just get caught with 1 or 2 or 3 or a gigabyte or 2 amount of images? No, they're fucking terabytes. Terabytes. And for those of you that aren't tech savvy, that is 1,000 gigabytes. I mean, we are talking about potentially millions of photos these people have. How the fuck is that even possible? How could they possibly be transferring over 1 million or a couple 100,000 worth of images? It truly makes you wonder, how are they able to build up 1 terabyte worth of images and videos before they're caught? I mean, how many times have you heard child predator gets caught with 5 gigabytes worth of XYZ? You don't. You always hear child predator caught with 24 terabytes of images. The fuck is that, dog? You have more storage than your average Best Buy.
Ladies and gentlemen, terabytes of anything is fucking crazy, for real.
That's crazy.
Terabyte is a fucking lot. 1 terabyte is equal to 120 hours of HD video.
120.
1 terabyte is 1,000 gigs. 1 terabyte being 120 hours of HD video. Now, think about any series that you ever been watching, that you were binge watching or whatever else. You want 120 episodes in 1 gig. That's insane to think that there is terabytes of, for real. Before I even get into what he was addressing, terabytes of anything is crazy, because if you went over your friend's family member house or whatever else and find out that they have several hard drives of football, like there's no way you could be into football that much where you have 15 different hard drives.
Ain't no damn way.
Football and terabytes of videos and pictures of football players and videos of the Super Bowl and everything else. That's crazy. If you find terabytes of anything, that nigga need to block the fuck up.
Lock that nigga up.
Terabytes of anything is crazy. Why the fuck would you have 120 hours of anything? I can't imagine liking anything that much. I like sci-fi TV shows and movies. I can't imagine having 120 hours of it. I can't imagine having terabytes of it. Multiple hard drives of Star Trek and Star Wars. So right off top, terabytes of anything is fucking crazy. Anybody who got terabytes of anything. But they're right. Whenever these like predators get caught or whatever else, they're caught with terabytes of this shit on their computers and shit. That's insane. That off top should warrant an execution. But these people get arrested, they get fucking 20 years in prison or whatever else, and that's what they get. They get put on a fucking registry, some of them get out and stuff like that, but terabytes, the amount of time it takes to accumulate terabytes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thinking on this. For example, you got 41-year-old Richard Denver Belding. This man had 4,000 images and videos of of CP on his computer. That man had 4,000 images and videos of CP. This man had 15 hard drives, totaling to 57 terabytes of child pornography. This man, that's crazy. 57 terabytes. I just told y'all what 1 terabyte. What? This man had 15 different hard drives. This man had 57 terabytes. 1 terabyte is 120 hours of video. 1 terabyte is 1,000 gigabytes. That's insane. You got 48-year-old Terry Lee Clark. This man was caught with 47,000 images, 17,000 videos of CP on his computer. 47,000 images, 17,000 videos of CP?
That's
insane.
Crazy.
There was another man, Scott Thomas Provis, 64-year-old, was caught with 6,118 videos, 313,356 images. There was another man in Viejo, California. He was arrested with 120 terabytes of CP on his computer. Like the time it would take to get terabytes of anything else. Like I said, whether it was sports or comedy specials or movies or whatever, it would be crazy. But to have terabytes, 57 terabytes, 120 terabytes of CP on your computer is crazy. Like I said, that's what would warrant an execution. I don't understand why these people get arrested and these
burn that nigga
25
alive.
years in prison or whatever else. I feel like you're housing them and feeding them and keeping them in an institution when they need to be executed. If a motherfucker get caught with terabytes of CP on their fucking computer, these motherfuckers need to be set on fire. Just publicly execute. Just set that motherfucker on fire. What reason are y'all going to go ahead and house and feed and close these people inside of a prison institution for years? When motherfuckers are getting caught with 313,356 images of CP on their computer. Well, motherfuckers are getting caught with 47,000 images and 17,000 videos. Motherfuckers have 15 different hard drives totaling to 57 terabytes of CPU on their computer. That's insane.
Crazy.
And there's multiple stories of motherfuckers getting caught with terabytes of this shit. Execute them. Just executions. Because like I said, just the amount of time to accumulate terabytes of anything. 120 just 57 terabytes of movies. I couldn't imagine anyone liking movies enough to where they want to have just movie, Christmas movie, comedy movie, action movie. Like I said, terabytes of anything is crazy. But then these fucking dudes are getting caught with CPU on their computer and it's terabytes. It took years to accumulate that shit. I hate the fact that they get caught, that they did. It takes years to catch these motherfuckers with this shit. And we're wasting resources housing these people inside of prisons when we need to publicly execute them. That's crazy. That is crazy. Like I said, terabytes of anything. That's insane. We've gone past megabytes. We've gone past gigabytes. We're into terabytes. And that's
Oh, y'all not talking about some goddamn purple revolution. Is you out your goddamn cotton picking mind? Since day one on this campaign trail, he's been a racist, misogynistic asshole. Since day fucking one, the first month he was rolling back segregation laws from the 1960s, segregated facilities. What are y'all talking about? DEI programs, affirmative action. I'm talking about the government got gutted from Doge and hundreds of thousands of black people lost their jobs. Y'all the same ones that agree that black women don't have the IQ or intelligence to get these jobs. I'm talking about people that in DC, where I am, people that I know that have bachelor's degrees, master's degrees, law degrees, passed the bar exam, doctorate degrees, losing their jobs left and right because y'all think that they not qualified after y'all just been getting in these positions, been underqualified your whole fucking life. You feel intimidated. Yes, but now y'all want a purple revolution? Exactly. Are you kidding me? You're talking about the same people who didn't want due process for people like Abrego Garcia, people that's just snatching people up off the street. Y'all just now talking about some purple revolution because he talking about some damn taking back the First Amendment. What do you mean? He been taking away our rights. Been taking away our rights. Been taking away women's rights. Been taking away women's right to choose. Took away the rights for the states. Taking away EBT. Taking away Medicaid, Medicare. He talked about this on his campaign trail. This ain't new. This wasn't about the price of eggs, and y'all fucking knew it. Y'all sat there and watched as he sent them people to CCOT, a camp in El Salvador that's not even on American soil, as prisoners that would never get out. It's people showing up missing. 1,200 immigrants are missing. And y'all don't care because they're brown. Y'all never cared. On the campaign trail, he wasn't just talking about Hispanic people. He was talking about black people, Haitians. He said they were eating cats and dogs. Y'all didn't care. All y'all cared was about some people a man putting on a dress. I don't give a fuck about that. If you care that much about it, it's because you need to look deeper inside. When have you ever been in a room with a man with a dress on? You haven't, unless... Stop worrying about shit that don't affect you. If you pro-life, then you and your goddamn wife need to be pro-life. What the fuck do that got to do with a nigga in a different state? Y'all don't care about none of these things that he's talking about. Y'all knew he wasn't a Christian. Y'all knew that he didn't respect women. He had 34 felonies. Y'all don't care about no goddamn law and order. The police out there fighting for their life against ICE. The troops that they sending out there don't even want to do the things that ICE trying to get them to do. They got FBI getting off of their cases because they don't want people investigating cases with the FBI, what they really supposed to be doing, finding them kids, them people that's touching kids, because their whole administration is full of kid touchers. Y'all got the lady from the WWE in the administration. Y'all got Lawrence Taylor in the administration. RFK Jr. in the administration. Y'all got the dumbest, most unqualified people in the administration. Y'all got them doing speeches with the military, telling them that if they want to rough people up on the streets, there won't be no consequences. They telling people that when they're doing this training, then women need to be doing the same thing as men. And if they can't, then they need to get kicked out the military. And not only that, they saying that all of these cases where women are investigating things that's happening to them in the military, they need to be a little bit more lenient on that. Ted Cruz just went up there and said, we need to stop attacking people that touch kids. Y'all don't care. Talking about some purple revolution. They got Black Hawks over apartment buildings coming in like the SWAT, zip tying kids up. What do you mean? A girl got hit 5 times by ICE. Yeah, popped 5 times by ICE. A priest got popped in his face for peaceful protesting. Y'all don't care. Why the fuck would we ever join y'all for a revolution? I want y'all to, once this is over, I want y'all to go back in your red states and go in a fucking hole and live together and live in harmony with each other. I don't ever want to see y'all ever again, a day in my life. I want the progressives to all move to progressive states, DC, Maryland, Virginia, California, wherever the hell you gotta move, and leave them motherfuckers to pass away in their own fucking misery. You got the House, the Senate, the presidencies, the Supreme Court, and you still unhappy because it's not about no fucking eggs or tears. Economy going to shit. Y'all never cared. Y'all never cared. We don't even want to be amongst y'all. When they came up here after they beat the Confederacy, they took that plantation that Robert E. Lee was on and they turned it into Freedmen's Village where free slaves could come and work and live and grow. Once we're done with this, I never want to see y'all again. I want y'all exiled. I don't want to even be in the same vicinity as y'all. I don't even want to be in a state where I'm in a proximity of 100 miles of a fucking red hat. Exactly. I want y'all gone. Fuck a purple revolution.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, there will be absolutely no purple revolution, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, everything that's going on with this president, this vice president, and this administration was 100% avoidable. None of this had to happen. Y'all took your ugly ass into the booth and voted for and hired the dumbest, most unqualified people to be president and to be in this administration. Y'all did that. You did that. Put this man in office. You brought in all these fucking idiots, these losers, these people who are going to cause all these problems. Y'all got RFK now. Y'all got Linda McMahon for some reason. All of what's going on right now was 100% avoidable. If everybody else did what black people did and voted 92% for that other person who was supposed to be president of the United States, you had to do. None of this shit will be going on. So there will be no merger. There will be no alliance. There will be no purple revolution. None of that garbage. None of that bullshit. Because we will never join sides with you and help you at all. None of that. Like he said in this clip, when this is all done and over with, we are not going to forget people who voted for this administration. We want nothing to do with any of y'all. Like, we want to be states apart from y'all. In fact, we want the entire country to be divided. There's two separate, different United States. We want two totally different states. Away from you, motherfucker. Everything separated. We want the divided states of America. We don't even want to be under the same government and in the same country. We want all of this shit separated. We want it done and over with. We don't even want even the possibility of a resurgence of this ever happening again. Because this is insane. Because if you remember some of the podcasts that I had done before where, like, I think it was not even a month after, maybe a month after, he was inaugurated. This man was inaugurated. He started signing all these sort of executive orders, and this man started going ahead, have an ICE run out here and do all sorts of crazy shit or whatever else. And, you know what I'm saying, he started doing all this shit. And within a month of him being inaugurated and being put in office and everything else, you see some of these people talking about leaving MAGA. Some of these people talking about they regretted their vote. How do I change my vote? All this dumbass shit. Oh, Trump's not doing what he said he was supposed to do and everything else. He didn't change it. He didn't make anything better or whatever else. All this dumbass shit. And back then, okay, we're talking January, February, March. We were saying the same thing right now. There will be no siding with y'all, helping y'all, none of that shit. You know exactly what you voted for. Exactly. You know what you voted for. And black people were saying immediately, this is your fuck around and find out stage. You're going to fuck around. Now you're going to find out like the rest of us. We're all dealing with this bullshit. We're not going to side with you. It's not going to be none of that. You were on your own because y'all didn't care. Y'all didn't care when this man was running for president. Y'all didn't care when this man got elected. You didn't care once he was inaugurated and became president, started signing these executive orders and causing all these problems up to right now, to the day of this recording. All the shit that has been going on, people losing their rights and losing their benefits and losing everything. Y'all didn't give a fuck. And you morons don't give a fuck until some shit is affecting you. Like, you don't care that other people are human beings. Other people have to live and eat and be in this country too. You don't care until the shit is affecting you. Now you're talking about, can we have an alliance and be all on this purple revolution shit? And can we merge together and all this garbage ass shit? No, none of that. I don't care how much you regret your vote. I don't care how much you feel like you turned over a leaf or you're seeing things new now, all that type of nonsense, whatever. We want nothing to do with y'all. We have not forgotten who was out there supporting this man, who was out here supporting this administration. To this day, you still have people on social media saying that they have friends and family members, you know what I'm saying, who they no longer fucking with anymore because that's who they voted for. And they stood 10 toes down on them being part of that, supporting that and everything else. People do not fuck with y'all. And y'all going to sit there and be like, well, that's just leftist people going, oh, well, politics shouldn't get in the way of us being friends and family and all that type of shit. This shit has to do with your core morals and values and ethics. What you stand
All of that
for. Like,
shit.
do you believe that like people having food and clothing and a roof over their head and all their basic human rights and basically their civil rights and stuff in this country? That's what's crazy about all this. That now you're having people talk about a fucking purple revolution, all this type of shit. When all of this, everything that's going on was 100% avoidable. All of it, 100% avoidable. Y'all chose this. Y'all let y'all racism and your sexism keep you from voting for that woman. Yeah. You let your racism and sexism keep you from voting from that woman. Know exactly what the fuck you voted for. And we're in this situation now because you knew exactly what the fuck you were voting for. Therefore, all of us who are on the right side of history, we did the right thing. We did what we were supposed to be doing. We are not going to merge with you at all for any purpose or any reason. In fact, we want nothing to do with any of them. And if we have to separate by states or even separate the entire country, that's what we need because we don't want to have nothing.
I want y'all out of my country.
Nothing.
We need to start having serious discussions about a national divorce. Because I got to be honest with you, I'm thinking about it more and more lately. Because, like, what the fuck do the blue states get out of this exactly? What do the blue states get out of this? We are net taxpayers to the federal government, so we pay more than we get back. We're subsidizing the red states, and then in return, what do we get? ICE Gestapo thugs and the National Guard and the military invading our cities when we don't fucking want them there and ruining the lives of normal people who are just trying to work their jobs and fucking, help their families out and take care of business. I mean, seriously, what are we getting out of this? And by the way, also, it's not even like we have equal representation. With the Electoral College, it's very clear that everything's biased in favor of red America, right? Wyoming gets 2 senators. I don't even think they have 1 million people that live in Wyoming. California's got like 40 fucking million people that live there and they get 2 senators, right? I mean, it's kind of a joke at this point. It's kind of a joke. It's like, if this is a marriage, this is a fucking marriage where one side is an abusive, alcoholic gaslighter, and the other side is just a good person trying their best, and we're getting fucking abused on a daily basis. Why would we stay in this arrangement? Why would we stay in it? And I mean that seriously. I mean that sincerely. It's something we got to start thinking about, man. Because you could easily have it so that this country gets broken up. You could have, basically the red states of America and the blue states of America, and let them have, hey, you guys want to have unlimited guns? You guys want to have zero Medicare, zero Medicaid, zero Social Security? Have at it. Go right ahead. But you know what? If we were to separate, the fact of the matter is, within 10 years, maybe even within 5 years, if the blue states were on their own, we would have universal health care. We would have universal college. We would have unions and higher wages. We would have basically like a Scandinavian system, right? Like a beautiful Scandinavian system where everybody's happy, everybody's healthy. But no, they're holding us back. Literally, they are holding us back. Red America is holding us back. I'm done with these people, and they're done with us, and that's fine. So let's fucking separate. But the difference is, if we actually were to separate, just like the abusive alcoholic ex, the gaslighter, they would be crying and whining and bitching and moaning because they want somebody to shit on. They want somebody to hate. They want somebody to be the villain, right? Whereas us, if we were to separate, oh my God, we would be fucking, we'd be partying. We would be fucking ecstatic. I hate having to deal with these people. They actually secretly like bashing us on a daily basis. I'd rather not. I'd rather actually build something positive for the future. But that requires getting the fuck away from these clowns.
Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen, we need a national divorce.
Hell yeah.
National divorce. We are in an abusive marriage with people who are absolutely fucking up everything for us. We get nothing, they're getting everything, and they get to abuse us. And we are going to sit here and go ahead and fucking take it. We've been taking it for all these years, and we're supposed to just go ahead and take more abuse and everything else? No. When you're in an abusive relationship with somebody, there's only 3 things you could possibly do. That is, you could stay there and take the abuse, and eventually the person abusing you is going to basically beat you to death. Second thing you could do is get away from the person who is abusing you. Gather up all the courage and the strength and the materials and things you need to get the fuck up out of there and get away from that person. And third option is to kill your abuser. Now, we're at the next option. We have stayed there and take the abuse and everything else, and we're not going to basically let them go ahead and kill us by starving us or having people with militants in the streets shooting at all us. Everything.
All that
we're at the point
shit.
we want you to go ahead and separate. We want to get the fuck up out of here. You guys want to over there, the red states, the red hat people, y'all want to live any sort of way. Y'all want to have no medical care. Y'all want to have no food programs. Y'all don't want to take care of your own citizens, your own people, or whatever else. That's fine. Y'all live any way y'all want to. It's the time for a national divorce. Everything needs to be separated in this country. We need 2 different separated countries here. Exactly. We are no longer the United States of America anyway. We're the divided states anyhow. Because like he said at the beginning of this clip, blue states get nothing out of this anyway. Nothing at all. We don't get anything out of this shit. None of this is going to benefit anybody. Everything that's going on with everything being taken away and everything being limited and everything being, all this bullshit that's going on, if we were to separate, if we were to have a national divorce, where we're separated from the red states and everything else, we would prosper in a short amount of time. We would. And we just leave the red states to their self-destruction. We just leave them to their self-destruction. Because under the Republicans, under a Republican president, under a Republican government and everything else, we see that nobody's going to be prospering at all. They're going to make sure they limit everything to a few people, and that's just how they want to run everything. The rest of us don't want to live like that. You know what I'm saying? We don't want our Social Security programs taken away. We don't want our medical programs taken away. We don't want our Board of Educations and things like that taken away. We don't want any of that shit taken away. If y'all want to live like that, that's fine. Separate the United States into two separate different sub-countries, and one half of the country of red state people. Y'all want to live like that? Y'all can live like that. We'll form our own fucking government, and we will do our own fucking thing over here, and that's what we need to do. It's time for it. It's time for it. This whole United States shit is done and over. It's no longer United States of America. We are done with that. It's done. And like I said at the beginning of the program, we need to go the same way as other countries who couldn't get along. We need to separate, just like Czechoslovakia separated to Czech Republic and Slovakia, the way North and South Korea is separated. They're on two totally different type of things or whatever else. United States needs to do that shit too. Country needs to separate, and if red state people want to do their own fucking thing or whatever else, they want to live under some sort of North Korean type of dictatorship or whatever else, under this orange version of Kim Jong-un, y'all do y'all thing over there. That should have nothing to do with the rest of us or progressives who want to go ahead and live the right way and do everything and making sure everybody is, we all got health care, we're all eating and we're housed, and we got, damn near free education and everything else. Form our own fucking government, live differently to y'all. So if there is anything for us to fight for, that's what we need to fight for. We need to fight for have a separate country. We need to fight for separation, to have a separate country, a national divorce, where we finally separate into two separate different countries. Everything. Two separate governments, separate presidents, all that shit. Time for it.
This might get me in a lot of trouble, but it might not. So here we go. Blow their fucking heads off. You don't know who they are, and they're not telling you who they are. They're not showing you any type of proof of authority. They're just trying to kidnap you. Blow their fucking heads off. What? Make the next squad think twice. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Hey, get in this car. Who are you? I said get in this car. What? Head blown off. That's the proper response. If anything, that's the American way. The Second Amendment exists for a reason. Not even a last name, not a first name? That's interesting. That's fucking crazy. I don't see anything indicative on your car. That's fucking crazy. Where are we going? You're not telling me? That's crazy. Who do you know? You're not telling me? That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. All you're yelling is an acronym. Okay. All right, well. Last day for them.
Ladies and gentlemen, he said blow their fucking heads off. Ice raids are crazy, ladies and gentlemen. The videos that we've all seen of them just showing up and absolutely brutalizing people. They're zip tying your babies, they're taking people up out of their house in the middle of the night and everything else. I've seen store owners accused of being immigrants and everything else, and they don't give a fuck about you being an actual American citizen. They're just bringing you outside. I've seen videos of people getting their head slammed on the concrete, damn near getting their arm broken to put themselves in the handcuffs. Start blowing these motherfuckers' wig back, for real. For real. We are way past laws and regulations and rules. Never know. I said this podcast where some people are saying, well, you still believe in the rules and the laws and that you're going to go ahead and fight it legally and everything else. They don't give a fuck about you fighting anything illegal. None of this shit. None of this shit is legal. None of this shit makes any sense. So a motherfucker try to kidnap you or kidnap your family or harm you or harm your family, blow their fucking head off. Doesn't matter if they're a 3-letter squad, you know what I'm saying, organization or anybody. Put they dick in the dirt. Get rid of that nigga. Like, I think it's fucking crazy how people don't have that type of mentality where they want to go ahead and be like, well, if you want to come here and attempt to kidnap me, or you want to attempt to go ahead and threaten my life or threaten my family's life or whatever else, like I want to defend myself, maximum lethal. You're not going to take me alive to anywhere, any other location.
Hell no.
I mean, that shit's not going to happen. It's just crazy how people will not fight to the death about shit like that and be like for real serious about it. I just see these crazy ass videos of like ICE basically not even being civil about any of this shit. They're just yanking people out, beating people the fuck out on the fucking concrete. People are like getting their head, cracked and shit like that. Just crazy shit that they're doing to people that they don't deem to be human. They just feel like they can get away with doing this type of crazy ass shit. And we're not responding with like maximum. Show up on that crazy ass shit, we will match that energy. For real. Like, you having ICE on your, 3-letter or a badge or anything like that does not give you authority.
We showing up with
Humanize
bats,
these people. You're going to do whatever.
swords,
I think that people need to just show
full
up with
clips.
force. Okay, let's do this. Because they're just snatching up people who have nothing to do with any children, American citizens, everything. Because this president and their administration gave them to go ahead and just go act crazy and shit. And the next order he's going to give them is to go ahead and have purge. So they're just going to go out there and take out whoever they want to take out. And is that going to be the point where people start meeting them with force? Is that going to be it? That when they're going to start having people go out there and meet ICE with force? Is that going to be the point where people start driving these motherfuckers out of your communities, out of your neighborhood? When everybody come out there, we all got guns. We all got guns. Then what?
There are fully AI generated accounts on this platform now, like full face, full video, and they're also pretending and masquerading to be black people. I'm going to show you these videos and tell you why it's a problem. Everybody's talking about the DoorDash girl. I was looking at certain videos and I came across this one.
I saw the original video of the DoorDash girl, and I'm a little bit confused now that I woke up and see everything that's happening. When I saw it, I said, hey, I understand why DoorDash, well, I guess fired you and why you're blocked from the app. Now, as for the guy.
That's a little weird, right? Why are they saying the same thing in a very similar tone and a very similar cadence? Is there a script? Is somebody copying somebody? Or is that video on the right fucking AI? It's an AI. And not just that video, her entire fucking page is artificial intelligence generated video. Okay. Now, when you look at the page, you can kind of tell it's just gibberish. There's no like links or anything, no name. But when you just scroll by these videos, it's pretty hard to tell unless you're really paying attention to how she speaks.
I watched this video like 15 times before I realized it was AI. And the thing that gave it away, I legit watched this video like 15 times before I realized it was AI.
I think that's the original one. I'm pretty sure that's the original one. Oh, but it's not just her.
Now, please tell me you've seen that video of the bride saying, you can't hurt me. This is what my mother-in-law bought to wear to our wedding. And baby, it was a whole wedding gown. Y'all, please tell me you've seen that video of the bride saying, you can't hurt me. This is what my mother-in-law bought to wear to our wedding. And baby, it was a whole wedding gown.
So let's break this down. On a major level, people are making videos and content, and the AI is just kind of downloading that video, transcribing it, and then generating a fake person, and then another fake video in the background, by the way. If you do notice, those last two clips had two different videos in the background. And then even the train one was different from the original one that I had showed you. So they're also now generating a fake video of that in the background. And you really can't tell the difference. Not only are they stealing content and farming whatever, and now this account has 200,000 fucking likes from just stealing content. Sure, whatever. Think about the fucking implications of what you just saw. You can go search up those creators and see people stitching them as if they're real creators. Now, the content is real for now, but even the content there is AI generated. How long until they bring up some bullshit that never fucking happened? And it's insane that they're doing this with black people and specifically black women. This is the worst it's going to be, by the way. I know you might be like, well, I can actually tell because she's not moving that much. And she's like, keep giving them notes on what to change. Every issue that we say this has, they eventually will fix. They're, back in the day when ChatGPT was like, oh, you got 4 fingers, 6 fingers. They have 5 fingers now. It's all good. They will fix this and they will make it bad. Think about the implications of being able to just, this is most likely a real woman's face or an amalgamation of 2 or 3 real women. And it's most likely that woman's same voice. You can literally have anybody say whatever you want and start a narrative. And then you can have a fake background in the back saying that this is real. They can say, wow, look at all these 8 black people jumping this white baby in Colorado. And then they'll have 10 other accounts make the same video. And you're going to keep scrolling and be like, man, actually, that must have happened. Even with this DoorDash video, a lot of people are talking about a video that no one has ever seen before. Now imagine if you could make that video appear in real time. We're cooked, bro. We're cooked.
Ladies and gentlemen, they have fully AI generated video accounts on TikTok, on social media, ladies and gentlemen. They just cloned the whole video and then they went ahead and cloned your voice. And you know what I'm saying? They made these videos. I remarked about this when I talked about in my other podcast. I was talking about dangers of AI is regulated and how they're going to end up targeting black people. Now, of course, they were making silly ass videos, black people with apes and goofy racist shit like that. But also they're making whole accounts now where they're having black people say shit that didn't happen or whatever. Now, of course, they're talking about these videos on here where basically they took a video that did exist or whatever, made an AI version of it, completely different AI made up person and AI background and everything else. But it mimicked the voice perfectly and basically it created a whole nother video. You know what I'm saying? And who knows if they're going to be able to move this technology to the point where they're making videos of stuff that didn't actually happen and people can't tell the difference.
They already
because
doing
in the videos
that.
In this clip that I'm talking about, there's no Sora AI watermark or anything like that. Like you said, you had to go to that person's actual page and see that, okay, there's no app for their Gmail or anything like that. There's no link to click that anything is connected to. It's just a completely AI generated TikTok account. You know what I'm saying? And so he's right on all accounts. I mentioned this in my previous podcast too, that a person making these completely fake AI generated videos, they're going to spread propaganda. So of course they're going to get black people to say whatever and make these videos, and enough videos keep circulating through social media, whatever, people are going to believe that incident that never happened. So of course they can make up anything about black people, saying anything. And it's really gotten to the point where you can't tell whether something is real or not.
They're gonna accuse us of everything.
Are not going to look into it and be like, oh, well, I know how to spot the difference between an AI generated video and an actual real video. And they proved that with the experiment that they had. I think I mentioned in my previous podcast where I talked about the couple on the subway. But if you haven't, if I didn't mention it on the last one I had, there is an AI video of a couple on the subway. There's like a black woman and a white man sitting on the subway or whatever else. And the black woman walks over and she's got her camera out in selfie mode. And she's just like, well, here's my future husband. The white guy looks over. It's real cute and everything, but the whole thing is 100% AI generated. And when people be able to look at this video, they thought it was real. Somebody who I guess knows a little bit about AI, Sora, and all that type of stuff pointed out it's a completely fake AI generated video.
They're running tests.
Other videos just like that began to get generated. So now people are looking for a different couple on a different subway, and whatever people are making more
trying to see
AI
how much they can get
AI
away
videos
with.
this. Fix whatever kink that they found in the video. People standing in the background and not moving or whatever else, like the next video they made of that, completely fixed. So they're going to create situations and scenarios of things that didn't happen and stuff like that and say this is what's going on with black people. And I mentioned that in like last podcast that I did where I was talking about simulation and singularity, about how they're going to be using this for propaganda purposes. Not going to be using for, epic battles with Pikachu and shit like that. It's going to basically be how can we stick it to black people? How can we stick it to accents, people with different sexualities, stuff like that? How can we get this group and that group, whatever else, to and make it seem like they're the ones who are causing problems. So the next thing you're probably going to see is black people saying something that is incendiary about the government or whatever it may be, to fake uprising and saying, hey, let's go out here and murder all these people or whatever else. It could be something absolutely fucking crazy. Like you mentioned, it could be a video of black people attacking a bunch of white children or whatever. It could be something like that. And enough of these fake videos out there, they'll be like, oh, our white children are in danger. We got to go ahead and kill black people or whatever else. It could be anything. These videos are indistinguishable from actual reality. It's using this technology to clone people's voices and mannerisms like that and make videos off them.
And that's why they
And the
won't
thing that
regulate
he
it.
mentioned in this video is that, okay, there was an actual real video at one point of something, such as a woman talking about a wedding or whatever it may be. And then the AI thing cloned that video and made a completely separate AI video with the same, transcribed voice and everything else. The cloned voice and transcribed whatever they were saying in the video and made a completely different video. But we're at the point with technology right now, you could just take anyone's, voice, image, likeness, or whatever else and create whatever else, because we've seen that with some of these videos. Like I've just recently seen a video where, of course, they brought back somebody like Bruce Lee or whatever else, and they have him saying whatever they want him to say. They're using his image, his likeness, his voice, his mannerisms, everything. He's just saying whatever they want him to say. And of course, right now it's comical, it's fun. They're saying, okay, they got Bruce Lee basically going from temple to temple, beating people up over some fried chicken or whatever, and it's silly and it's fun. What happens when they just take images of black people and have them showing the videos of, oh, they're going and hunting there are black people out here hunting white children or whatever, spread propaganda that, oh, we're in danger now, we got to go ahead and defend ourselves against black people are doing that. Like, this definitely has to be regulated. Also, we have to be aware of this type of stuff. They are targeting us as black people. They're making these videos, these AI videos, and they're targeting us, and they're going to have these fake videos of us saying and doing stuff we didn't say or whatever else. Go ahead and put heat on us, more heat than we already have. So there would be a bunch of false videos of black people committing crimes or saying or doing something incendiary or whatever else to spark up a race war or whatever it may be. But these videos are existing now. So now when you're scrolling through TikTok and everything, you don't know if this is a fake account and none of this shit actually happened. That's not a real person that you see making video. And it's going to start off casual. It's going to start off as them saying something funny or just something regular, like they're at a fucking roller rink or they're at a wedding or something, AI cooking video or something. The next thing you know, it's going to be black people doing something that they can blame black people and say, well, black people they're criminalizing black people for whatever reason. It's a serious concern. Like, we got to be very critical of the videos that we see on social media now. We got to scroll through and realize
you gotta watch that shit.
Watching are not real people. They're AI. And they're not going to put at the bottom of it, this is AI generated. you know what I'm saying, or the creator, Marxist AI generated. They're going to have the Sora
They already got rid of the watermark.
watermark on or whatever else. It's a video that you may not immediately be able to tell that this is not a real video of a real actual black person saying or doing anything. It could be whatever they made up to say it. It's deeply concerning.
Meanwhile, Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia made headlines earlier this week calling for Republican states effectively to secede from the Union. The Georgia Republican posted her proposal on Twitter, writing the U.S. should be separated by red and blue states because of, quote, woke culture issues. Morning Joe economic analyst Steve Ratner here with charts that show why a national divorce would not work out so well for those deep red states. Steve, good morning. What do you have for us?
Good morning. Well, first of all, Marjorie Taylor Greene is not alone. There have been a number of polls. There was one in 2021 that 2/3 of Southern Republicans wanted to secede from the rest of the country. And it's not going to work out well, because when you take a look at how the balance of spending versus taxes goes across the country, what you can see here is that on the left side are the states carried by Joe Biden. The green are states in which the state paid more to Washington in taxes than it got back in other benefits. The orange colors, and they're shaded depending upon the degree of disparity, are the states where the states got back more from Washington than they sent. And you can see on the left, a lot of green on the Biden states, 9 states altogether, as a matter of fact. And on the right, the Trump states, virtually every single state except for Utah, don't ask me why Utah, got back more from Washington than it paid. And so it would not really work very well to their advantage to leave. In fact, the top states for getting a better deal from Washington are Kentucky, Mississippi, and West Virginia.
Yeah, and if you look at poverty rates as well, Steve, higher poverty rates correlate by and large with some of these red states.
Yeah, so you can say, well, why is this happening? And poverty rates plays the major role. And first, let's look at what the poverty rates are. The chart on the left graphs the extent to which a state is a Republican state. The further to the right is more Republican. As you go up the scale, more poverty. And you can see with your eye that the red states tend to be above the national average in poverty. The blue states tend to be below the national average in poverty. Another way to look at it is this happens to be by counties, but you get to the same place on the right, how much GDP, how much of the nation's economy is produced in these places. The red states, the red counties, 29%, the blue counties, 71%. So they're suffering more economically. And that does lead to the question of how does that result in more money going to these states?
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we need a national divorce. This country needs to be separated, whether it's separated between red state and blue states, by a political ideology, whatever it may be. It definitely needs to be separated, definitely. Because this country, if it's separated, I guarantee you blue states will definitely prosper. We'll definitely have the lowest amount of poverty rate. We'll definitely have our economy booming, everything. And all the red states who want to live any sort of way under a fascist dictator or whatever the fuck y'all want to go ahead and do, y'all can go ahead and suffer over there. Way the fuck there. Away from the rest of us. The rest of us should have to go through this. That's how y'all want to live. We don't want to live. And I think that this is the one thing that all of us need to learn to fight for. We need to fight for a separation of this nation, a national divorce, separation of this country. You know what I'm saying? So if you are a red hat person and you want to live like the way this president and this administration is going or whatever else, you should still fight for that. You should fight that you be separate from the rest of us. That's fine. You don't want to live like people who are in blue state. You don't want to live like progressives. You don't want to live like the rest of us and whatever. You want to live like how this is going or whatever else. Cool. Y'all need to be separate into your own fucking country. And all the blue states, all the progressives, all the people who don't want this type of shit, we need to be separated too. Into our own country, with our own government, and a different president. That's the one thing we all need to be fighting for, is for a national divorce, a split between this country, split this country in half, have a completely different, two different countries here. Because the United States shit is over with. It's done. It's over. We are not united about anything. We are not together about anything. Done and over with. We need to fight to make that shit official. We need to fight to make it official. So that blue states, progressive states, all the people who want to live better, who don't want to go through this bullshit ever again, we are separated. We have our own government, our own president, our own shit going on over here. We don't have to deal with any of what y'all going on. Completely separated. Do what other countries have done. So we got 2 different Koreas. That's the reason why we have the Czech Republic and Slovakia. They're not together no more. Do what other countries have done before. Separate. We don't have to do what y'all doing. I want to fail over there, fail by yourself. Don't drag all of us in so we can all fail.
We don't want none of that.
That's the one thing we all should be fighting for. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been my show. I'm going to go back over a few things, ladies and gentlemen, because a few things need to be said over again, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it. Ladies and gentlemen, I open up the show talking about the food stamp benefits and how that's being cut off and everything else. There'll be a lot of people who have made videos saying basically they're going to go out here and steal. You know what I'm saying? They're going to go ahead and do what they got to do to make sure their kids are being fed. They're not going to go out there and sit at home and watch their kids starve. They're going to go without food benefits for the next month or whatever else because of this administration, this government, or whatever the fuck they're trying to be doing or whatever. They're not go ahead and do that. So they're going to go ahead and steal. And people were saying if you see them out here taking things or whatever else, no, you didn't. You didn't see nothing. Also, I said there were white people were making videos basically talking about, well, there they go, black people stealing and all this type of shit like that. It was white people not understanding that, okay, y'all are the biggest beneficiary of government subsidies, stuff like that. Y'all are the ones receiving Medicaid. Y'all are the ones receiving SNAP. You know, food share benefits and stuff like that too.
Y'all
shit
been stealing shit.
Cut off whatever else. Y'all gonna be out there stealing too. Thing is, y'all just want to blame this shit on
just
black
like you
people.
stole
Y'all
this
just
country.
say, well, look, they doing that while you're also going to be out to figure out how you're going to go ahead and feed your families too. Y'all are the biggest beneficiary of these benefits. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, I want to make sure that we go and talk about them Epstein files and also not skip over shit. Anytime something is going on, we tend to move on to the next thing without getting a full thorough explanation of what the fuck happened and everything else. Like I brought up fake ass assassination that happened to y'all president. We just moved on from that shit or whatever else instead of analyzing that shit, get bottom of it. And I feel like that's basically where we're going with the Epstein files. If we don't demand the files come out and everything else, and that everybody don't keep bringing it up, keeping it going and everything else, something else that comes up with this government or this administration or this president or whatever else, we're just going to move on and forget that those Epstein files need to be said. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, we live in the United States of America. Like I said, we need to go the way of like other countries like Czechoslovakia or North to South Korea, whatever. We need to have a national. And I had mentioned how during the Obama year, both of his terms, there were like 9 or 10 states that wanted to go ahead and separate from the U.S. They said, no, we want to be our own country. We don't even want to be part of the United States because a black man is in office. Now, if that's the case, right now with everything that's going on with this president and this administration, people need to come together and say, what states want to separate from this country and become their own fucking country? Cool, let's do that. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, I talked about male Trump supporter and how basically red hat Republicans are basically some of the most emotional, feminine, fragile ass people. Y'all made a very emotional and not a logical decision to go ahead and vote for this man and therefore bring about this administration. That is not a normal, natural thing, man. Normal, natural thing for a man is to make more logical decisions than you do emotional. So you had a lot of red hat wearing men out there making a very emotional decision because voting for a woman and a woman of color, especially one that's qualified and educated, made you feel some type of way. When you should have left your emotions out of it and went and voted for a person who was actually qualified to be in office, who would have benefited everybody. Y'all made some very sissy-ass emotional decision to go vote for the guy who makes you feel some type of way. He made you feel like, oh, he can go ahead and change things day one when he gets into office. He's going to lower the price of gas and everything. He just told you that shit. He made you feel like he could do that shit. Dumbass shit. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about Kamala Harris. She's on her book tour, and basically her book, her memoir, 107 Days. People out there, her haters are basically giving her more attention than her previous supporters. I've been saying since the election's been going on and everything else that Trump kept his supporters the entire fucking time when he was not president. First was president, to when he was not president and Joe Biden was in office and everything else, he kept consistent supporters. If y'all was really fucking with Kamala Harris like that, y'all should still be constant supporters. We shouldn't be hearing more from her haters than we do from her supporters. I should be gassing her up to be like, hey, did you want to run again? And you know what I'm saying, 4 years or whatever else? Cool, we got your back, we got whatever. Or we should be trying to figure out who's going to be the next person who's going to vote to make sure who we got lined up for the next president of the United States. If y'all don't support her to go become the next president of the United States. I mean, like, nobody's really talking about this woman ever again. And I mentioned that like a month or two after this man got inaugurated, that everybody just kind of stopped talking about her. But y'all was fucking with her so hard when she was running for president.
No, you weren't.
She can run for president again. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking about autistic people in the workplace and how basically some people are being viewed as being rude or weird because they don't want to deal with chit chatter and the pleasantry. They just want to be direct and be like, hey, what do you want?
Nobody got time for that shit.
Go ahead and do my job or whatever else. And that there are some companies basically have problems or issues with people who are neurodivergent and they do things different ways. And I think that's a serious problem in the workplace or people or whatever, because you don't want to go ahead and engage in pleasantries back and forth, because sometimes people who are autistic or basically just neurodivergent people, we feel there's a time and a place for that. You know what I'm saying? If you contact me at my station or at my desk or whatever else, you don't need to engage in a little 15, 20 seconds of back and forth shit. You could just say what the fuck you want, what you need. So I can get you whatever you need, send you some files, bring you some material, whatever it may be. We can get the fuck on with our day. Now, when we're in the parking lot and break room, wherever it may be, some other time or whatever, we have chit chat back and forth. But we don't need any of that shit when it comes to at work getting the assignment done. And autistic people shouldn't be penalized. Next thing we talked about is how most people are illiterate, and I brought up how basically that starts with religion. They basically don't read the religious textbooks or whether you're Muslim or Christian or whatever else. Most people are not reading and studying it or whatever else. You're allowing somebody else to tell you what something is, and you read when you have to, like you're being forced to because you go to school. And if you have to read something, you read something. You have to read a document as an adult, have to read it, but you actually read to increase your literary level that you understand what you're. And that's a serious problem in this country where people are not
lack
reading.
of comprehension.
We're having such a decline in this country of people reading, and they're getting rid of the Department of Education, and yet people right now where we have so much access to information and everything else on books and how to read, how to learn things and stuff like that. Like we really should be boosting our education, right? A lot of educational tools and apps, and there's an app for everything, but there's apps for basically increasing your vocabulary, increasing your comprehension and stuff like that. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about Christianity and basically the lack of critical thinking skills. But like I said when I was speaking on this, it's not just Christianity, it's religion in general. Basically, people need to have critical thinking, something that gets liberated early on when people growing up under religion that have the critical to think, like, how would that
basically make it make sense?
Questions. Don't discourage your kids from asking questions like, hey, how does that work? You know what I'm saying? Like, because then you just believe whatever people tell you. And that's why we got a society of dumbass people, right? People are just like believing whatever. People are not, analyzing things, or not wondering basically how the fuck did we get to that. You gotta have critical thinking skills. You need to start with whatever your religious base is when you're growing up and stuff like that. And one of the things that was asked during this clip that I played, it was basically saying, how do people go to school and get secondary education and be educated but not educated to understand that, okay, a person living inside a well couldn't possibly fucking happen. Ask yourself that shit. Next thing we talked about, pro wrestling as a concept. I use that basically as a metaphor for how people can seem to have a problem with how wrestling is fake and how it's not real. There are characters, storyline, everything is scripted. And I basically tied that into the previous one where I was talking about religion, about basically that's wrestling. Your religion's books is wrestling. There are characters, there are wild stories, there are costume stuff going on in there. And you should say the same thing about that. It's fake, it's not real, it's costume, it's storyline, it's scripted. But people never seem to have that same connection. But you can recognize that when it comes to AEW, you can recognize that when it comes to WWE, but you can't recognize that when it comes to it makes no sense. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, I talked about the delusion of religion and basically how religion can be a cop-out, because basically when there are systemic issues going on in the world, have been going on in the world, at no point did people say, oh, well, there was this one time where God, Allah, Buddha, whoever stepped out of the clouds, came out of the heavens or whatever and fixed any problems ever. Never. People always say, well, I'm just going to leave it up to God, I'm going to leave it up to whatever. And yet none of that has ever solved or fixed anything. We have real systemic issues in the world. And if just one time we could all definitively say, oh, remember that one time Jesus showed up and fixed this or fixed that or whatever, we'd all shut the fuck up. But we can't do that. We simply can't do that. We can't say Buddha or Allah or anybody just showed up and fixed this issue. They didn't fix hunger, slavery, nothing. Never once showed up and fixed one issue. So it's such a cop-out to be like, well, he'll just provide, he'll do this, he'll do that, and then nothing ever happens unless people physically get out there, put hands on people and make shit happen. Till you shake out there and make something happen or whatever, it's nothing going to change. It's such a cop-out for the people who don't want to actually physically get out there and be the revolution in your own life and fix things and change things and motivate yourself to be like, hey, I'm going to make things happen instead of sitting around just waiting for the situation to fix itself. Next thing I talked about, ladies and gentlemen, is basically terabyte CP, talking about how basically people getting caught with terabytes of anything is fucking crazy. People talking about how in our country or whatever else, it is a while before predators get caught. When they do get caught, they have 15 to 20 something terabytes of CP on their computers and shit like that, which is fucking crazy. And then these people get caught, get arrested, they go to prison, they do 25 something years to get from the fucking registry or whatever else. I think these people need to be publicly executed. That shit would fucking stop. It would stop. If we were setting motherfuckers alive publicly or whatever public execution we have, people who are child predators, whatever, the shit would stop. We don't have public executions anymore. And I think for some of the worst case people who do some of the most heinous things in this country, there needs to be that. It needs to be public execute people who have fucking 120 terabytes of CP on their fucking computer, who are child predators. It needs to be public executions for that shit. That's crazy. That is insane. Next thing We were talking about there'll be no purple revolution. We're talking about how, they want red and blue to come together and everything else, because there's not going to be any of that. Like I said before, this is 100% avoidable. All of this shit could have never happened in the first place had y'all not voted for racists. Had y'all not voted because you're sexist and racist and you didn't want that woman, the educated woman, to go ahead and be the next president of the United States. You didn't waste time blaming everybody who ain't a white man. We wouldn't be here, right? There's not going to be any type of merger or ally or any type of shit going on. None of that shit. There's not going to be no purple revolution. None of that. In fact, when this shit is all done and over with, as said in the clip, and as basically the sentiment of black people and people everywhere, we don't want nothing to do with any of y'all. We want to be completely fucking separated. Y'all can do whatever the fuck y'all want to do next over there in a whole nother state or wherever y'all want to do. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about national divorce, basically the subject of all of this. We need to separate two totally different governments, two separate different presidents. We need to have that. We need to do what other countries have basically done, like South Korea.
Now is the time.
All the type of shit. That's what we need. Because if this country separated, back when the election was going on, and we basically elected both of them. We said, okay, we're going to have a Democratic president and a Republican president. Y'all got y'all Republican president. Y'all got Donald J. Trump for y'all red states, and we've got Kamala Harris for the blue states or whatever else. Like in 4 years, you would see how much the progressive are prospering. You would see how much damage and how much bullshit is going on, how much self-destruction was going on with all the red states on Trump. You would see that if we had elected both of them, if we had had a completely separate country where we elected both of these people. Next thing, ladies and gentlemen, we talked about basically fully AI generated video accounts. TikTok, they basically just cloned on somebody else's video and created a different video using their same voice and everything else. And they're basically masquerading as black people. This is going to be used to push propaganda. They're going to make us videos saying, and they're going to generate hundreds of these videos. They're going to make up some video using AI, and they're going to basically say, hey,
committing crimes,
saying that they want to go ahead and kill white babies out here blowing up, federal bill, whatever. They're going to make up something crazy, and there are so many videos going on, people are going to believe this shit's real. AI is not going to be used for anything like epic battles with Pikachu or pretending you won ball and shit like that. It's going to be used for dangerous purposes. So we got to be ready. We got to be able to pay attention to the stuff that we're seeing on social media and not take that shit as real. We got to look at shit and be like, okay, well, what is this linked to? Do some sort of research, some sort of investigation. Look at some of the stuff that we're checking out on social media. Ladies and gentlemen, the next thing we talked about was, again, the national divorce and how basically we would prosper under a progressive state president. We need a national divorce. Said that so many times during this, but that is the theme of this. That's what we need. A national, something that we all fight for, whether you want a red state president or you want a blue state president. Y'all need to fight to have that separation. Which, ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, before I get the fuck up out of here, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to bring up one more thing. Gangs in America. I don't care at whatever shit is going on. You don't ever see stuff that's going on with ICE showing up in different communities and stuff like that. Chicago, everywhere. Portland, all sorts of areas, whatever else. And you don't ever see no gangs pop out and do shit. And like me, I have never had no respect for gangs. Gang activity never gets out. Gangs get caught doing stupid shit and do double numbers in prison for overcome shit. And when you need gangs to come out there as a show of force, whenever ICE or anybody is invading these neighborhoods, crazy shit or whatever, you can't find none of it. I don't want to hear shit about gangs ever. Latin gangs, black gangs, Asian gangs, none of that shit. Because shit that's going on in this country right now, where the fuck are y'all at? And not even just with ICE. Long before this shit was going on right now, when fucking Tamir Rice was shot or whatever, gang members didn't come out at all. You couldn't find a gang member to do shit. Y'all would go to prison and do double numbers on over some stupid shit. Trayvon Martin was killed. You don't hear no gangs go out there and do nothing. This killer just walking around, breathing air, doing whatever the fuck you want to do. You didn't get no gang members out there on the streets, nothing. I don't ever want to hear shit about acting like they tough, none of that shit. If it's not gangster rap and some rapper is lyrically talking about they finna shoot somebody in the face, lyrically talking about they finna go ahead and hit up the trap house or whatever the fuck they finna go ahead and do, I don't want to hear shit about real gangs in America. If it was ever time to be on some gang shit right now, is right now with ICE and all these different agencies coming to y'all neighborhoods and doing whatever the fuck they want to go ahead and do. But gangs are scattered like roaches. The president has literally sent people to certain communities in Chicago and basically said, oh, there's so much gangs and gang shit going on or whatever else. Gangs didn't pop out to do nothing. Y'all be acting like y'all so much about that life until it's time to be about that life. Y'all niggas ain't popped out to do shit nowhere in this country. Not any mobs, not any gangs, none of that shit.
None of y'all.
And for the future, I don't ever want to hear shit about gangs acting tough and everything. Because right now, during this administration, with everything that's going on, right now would have been the time to go ahead and do that shit. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been my show. As always, you can contact me at mfdoomsday@gmail.com. And I will get back with y'all next time, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.
your bitch ass up, oh Lord. Just close them lips and let the peace fill your cup. Shut your bitch ass.